Just a moment. So we're going to be moving to some business basics. And the reason for this is because when we're self-employed, something we have to develop the capacity for is to prioritize and simplify so that we could take steps that move us incrementally forward, right? So, you know, one of the things that was really problematic for me, the first thing big thing I spent a lot of money on was like a set of big weekend trainings. And over the course of the 3 days, I got 50 million things that I could do in business. And I came out like this. And eventually I got 2 or 3 or 4 things that I could act on. But it's not very useful for the system to hang out in that huge list of things you could do someday. What's the 3 things I'm going to do today? What are the 3 things I'm going to do this month? What are the 3 goals I'm going to shoot for this half year, right? One of the things I'm going to ask you to do by the end of this call is what's one action that you want to get done by the end of the 4 weeks? Okay. And obviously it's an action bigger than just send out 1 email, right? But it's not a very big action. It's not like I have no website by the end of the series, I'm going to have a website, right? So you're going to want to find the right chunk size for the series. And if you're saying, can I do 2 small things? Of course, you can do whatever you want. But that's something I'm going to invite you to do. So I'm going to go to the share screen once again. And I'm going to go to, why are you not scrolling? Here we go. There we go. Okay. So this was information I went over on Saturday, but now I'm going to go into it in far more depth. Okay. So I mentioned that this is just Leslie's framework, that there are 4 chunks or buckets for your business work. And now I'm going to move out of it so I can just see who just chimed in. Hi, who's calling in? I'm going to unmute you. 808?
That was just me, Leslie. I wanted to get the phone on too.
Okay, great. It's just on Kate. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Go back to share screen. Here we go. There are 4 baskets, 4 areas for your business. Okay, this is fun. I like this, that I can only draw so badly. And I'm going to go through them in a little bit more focus now. And what I'm going to invite you to do is to find 1 or 2 things in each area. This is a convenient way to prioritize, right? And really, if you're really new or you're really overwhelmed or you're working a day job and you don't have a lot of time, then just 1 in each area. That's fine, okay? So the first one is your products and services, okay? This is what you do with your clients and customers. One-time services like sessions or treatments, or you go to their home and redesign, feng shui their house. You teach their kid how to write, whatever it is, yeah? Your one-time services, there are programs, packages, courses, workshops, and trainings. So it's multiple, you know, it's got a bunch of chunks. And then the last one is what's called in the biz passive income. By passive income, it just means ways you can make money when you're on vacation or sick. It doesn't require you to see and interact with someone in order to get some income coming in. This is often a goal for many people in our world. It's a little bit of an advanced thing. It's not something I've cracked yet myself, although I've thought about it a little bit. Questions to ask. And I've divvied this up in each one into two sets of questions. So for beginners, and you get to decide whether you think you're a beginner or not. Do you have at least one clear service at a clear price that you offer? Now, this may seem obvious, but for some of you, you may not have decided whether it's 1 hour or 2 hours, or is it a workshop, or is it a, I frequently talk to people who say, well, if they want an hour or charge around $40, and if they want 2 hours, they can charge around $60 or whatever. And it's just vague. So for beginners, do you have at least one clear service at a clear price that you offer? Now, yes, if you like sliding scales, if you like discounts, you can have those. But be decisive about it. Don't be vague about it. Don't have a long consultation with someone and then say, if you want a sliding scale, you can have it, and it could be, around blah, 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 right? You want to be really, really decisive. And the nice thing about this is you can change your mind. Some people have sliding scales for a while, and then they realize it just doesn't work for them. So they go to a set price. Whatever works for you is fine. For non-beginners, do you have at least 2 to 3 at different price levels? Is there something you want to add? Or do you have too many offers? That may seem very odd, but I actually have a client who's really struggling. She's got all these different things, and your clients are confused. Yeah? So these are the questions to ask. Any questions about products and services? Just go ahead and unmute yourself, since I can't see everybody right now, if you have a question about products and services. So that's the first bucket. Find 1 or 2 things in products and services that you want to work on. And by the way, I don't mean by the end of this 4 weeks. I just mean going forward. Okay? Okay, next one. Okay. The next one. Whoops, there we go. I just want to erase everything here. You're all drawing. Okay. So, in the arena of branding and business identity. Now, this is kind of the muckiest one of the lot. This is the most difficult one to nail down, but you can organize action items around branding and business identity. So one is working on having a clear niche. That's a huge thing. If you're brand new, I don't really suggest you start there. Also, logos, taglines, color scheme, web design, things like that. You can see my little name down here. That's my logo. Yeah, I seem to like maroon. Okay, so the questions for beginners. This is really kind of mucky, but it's the place to start. What do you really care about? What feels like you when you look at it? What are words you like? What attracts you? Do you like primary colors? Do you like pastels? Do you like hard angles that are sharp and clear? Or do you like, a little bit more impressionistic? It's beginning to get to know yourself. One of the things I heard years ago was very helpful was never pay anyone for a logo, because solopreneurs are their brand. So the more you know yourself and are able to communicate yourself in whatever you offer, whether it's a business card or anything else, yeah, the more you're doing successful branding. Anyone who knows me knows this logo looks like me. It just does. It's got a very Leslie vibe right here. How do I know that? I don't know, but people know it. I do understand this is a process of discovery sometimes, right? But that's for beginners. It's just to begin to look at that. The first thing I ever did was on a business card and on, sign-in sheets and stuff like that, was a green picture of a labyrinth. And I just got it off the web and I used it. You know, it's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be amazing, just to get started. For non-beginners, does your branding feel like you? Do you have a niche? Can you tell someone what you do clearly? So in this arena, what's probably ideally just one action you can take on moving forward on branding and business identity? I really wouldn't do more than one. Okay. It could be, you know, doing interviews with your clients and asking them how you help them. It might be going online and finding pictures that you like and designing your first business card. You can go to Vistaprint and get free business cards. Go for it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next one. Okay. Need to go backwards. Backwards, backwards. There we go. The third bucket is marketing. So our first bucket was your services and products. The second bucket was your branding. Your third bucket is your marketing. There's a few things I want to say about marketing. The first one is that it's ways for your clients to discover you. Things like networking, advertising, word of mouth, sticking up flyers on your local wellness center, posting things on Facebook. Yeah? Ways for people to go from never having heard of you to having heard of you. The second one is ways for your clients to get to know and trust you so that they want to work with you. So they already know you, but this is a way for them to continue to get to know you better. Things like email list or free and inexpensive services. Now here's the deal. I want to say under this first one, and this is something that these 4 bullets could easily take a whole year to set up. So I really want to warn people who are new. This is not a to-do list for next week. There's an infinity of things you can do for marketing, but here are the basics, okay? Having a website, having an email list with regular e-newsletters. MailChimp is the best free one that's out there. A few free and inexpensive services of value like articles, videos, free workshops, etc. And a few ways for people to find out about you. Networking, flyers, etc. If you have these 4 things, you kind of have the basic minimum for a real business going. But I really want to say it can take as much as a year, at least 6 months, to kind of have this all in place. You would never assume to have this all like now if you're a beginner. Yeah? So marketing questions for beginners. And you'll notice, like I almost skipped most of that. What are 2 to 3 things I like that I can start doing to let people know about me? Do I like networking? Do I like designing flyers and putting them on wellness centers? Do I like social networking? And again, as I said last time, marketing is a long game. If you decide 2 to 3 things, unless you find you hate them immediately, you want to stick with them for 6 months to see if you get any results, at least 6 months. And then for non-beginners, what are the gaps? What isn't working and might work better? Am I trying to do things that words should be things? Am I trying to do things I really don't like doing? And by the way, I'm going to be sending you this PDF. So there's a lot of details in here. I specifically wanted to make this somewhat detailed so you had something useful when I sent it to you. Okay, So any questions about marketing? Just go ahead and unmute yourself. Go ahead and ask. I also didn't ask if anyone had questions after the branding section. So if you have questions about either of those. Okay.
So, hello.
Go ahead, Alvaro.
So, newsletters and articles and all that really good stuff. How long, how often, how much?
Really good question. It varies a lot. So there's, yeah.
I mean, because I've read some of the newsletters and stuff that some people have, or some people write, and I just can't fathom more than a paragraph.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've just made a really good point, is that high value is more important than frequency. You want to make sure you're writing stuff people really want to read. And so it means that you want to go with your strengths. I remember working with a client who said, I can't do newsletters because I won't write, I can't stand writing, forget about it. It's just not going to happen. I'm like, we got to figure out a way around this, because what you need to do is build your email list. Building an email list is a critical part of being in business, and long-term thing. And you need to communicate and stay in relationship with these people so they get to know you better. And then I said, and so we set to kind of brainstorming. What does she like? What does she like? And what we agreed upon, and she's actually turned out to be brilliant about, because she's a kinesiologist, she works with the body, was that each one, which is about every 2 weeks, it's not too often, it's a tip. She does a tip, a short paragraph tip. And they're good tips. They're not those crappy tips you get that everyone knows, like, you should, tip of the day, relax more. Yeah, thanks for that. Right. But high quality tips from her expertise. And so they're very short little emails. It's got a tip, and it's got her upcoming events. I usually recommend to people, is the first thing is just to set up MailChimp. The next thing when they're ready is to reach out to their network and ask them if they would like to opt into their mailing list. And then the third thing is just to do a mailing once a month as a goal, to just start. Some people like to post photographs with poetry. Some people like to post a video. I'm a writer. I like doing articles because I think I'm a pretty good writer. Other people will actually post other people's resources on the web. You do want to go with your strengths. So yes, so it's not just, yeah, so it's interesting. And you want to go with your strengths. So figure out what, in terms of media, you like to do. Is that helpful, Alvaro?
Yes, thank you. It does give me a couple of, actually, it made it a little bit less scary than it was. I think that the idea of actually making something short and of value, I mean, I still don't have any idea about what that is, but lately I've been thinking about a bunch of stuff that might be enticing. It's going to be interesting to see if people are actually keen on those things that I find interesting and useful or not, right? But yes, thank you.
Excellent. And yeah, you'll get better. You know, you'll try some stuff. They might not be great articles, but you'll get better.
Okay.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you for asking. Okay, the last thing I want to hit here is infrastructure. Infrastructure. But I want to reframe infrastructure, which is its support. It's infrastructure, right? It supports. It keeps you sane. It makes things easier, lets you know what's going on in your business, and keeps you on the right side of the law and of the IRS. And again, just like the marketing bucket, I've listed a bunch of bullets of what I consider the absolute basics on infrastructure at the end of a year. If you really want a business that's kind of set up properly. So it includes financial tracking, setting up quarterly federal tax payments, having an organized calendar, tracking your client info, having a separate business bank account, super important once you start bringing in money, having an invoicing system that's convenient for your clients, and then depending upon your locale, if you live in Oakland, you certainly need one. I think most of the cities around the Bay Area requires you eventually to get a business license to keep you legal in your locale. And the way to find out about that is to go to your local chamber of commerce or town hall and find out. So questions to ask yourself about infrastructure for beginners. Where do you want to start? One second, I'll just ask these questions and I'll get to Alvaro. For beginners, where do you want to start? Choose one or two that you need the most now. That's where you start. You don't start on setting up your quarterly Social Security payments if you're not having any income. That's not where you start. And for non-beginners, what are the gaps? What is out of date and needs a better system? Okay. Alvaro, your question.
Thank you. So you live in Oakland, and right now you're also doing business in Colorado with Judy. How does that work?
Not relevant. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yep. You can do this anywhere around the world.
Okay.
Yep. But you do need to stay in, you know, I have to admit, I went about 3 years doing business before I settled this and got right with the city of Oakland. Felt so much better when I did. It's not a lot of money. It's a percentage of income, so they try to keep it reasonable. So just to let you know, it just felt good to do it. I felt like I got in line with God when I did it.
Thank you.
And help support my city with my business, which I'm happy to do as well. Okay, so that's it on the basics.